If you grill it, he will come.
Hey.
Is this heaven?
Nope. It's Fareway.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
My wife and I went to go see Hamilton on Broadway.
It Ain't Right Tour 2024.
Oh my God, it is amazing. We saw it. Oh, it changed me it changed me. Now, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I ain't gonna like this.
Sebastian Maniscalco, live on stage in Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena, December 15th, 2024. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit sebastianlive.com.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa Everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
Happy Monday morning, Two Guys, Chris and Chris, with a splash of Van Winks. It is October the 7th. We are presented, as always, by our dear friends at Fareway Meat and Grocery. It's funny, every year we've been doing this show, when I'm walking to Jack Trice Stadium, you get like a different vibe, what people are feeling about the show. Last year, everybody would go, placenta! This year, it's, hey, Williams, why don't you come and eat some of this meat from Fareway, you all teed up son of a bitch?
You got a real cockeyed look to you today. You're really showing off that Mike Leach picture. You kind of look like, the way you're framed up, like you're a local TV news anchor, and you've got the over-the-shoulder graphic of Mike Leach.
The Iowa State Cyclones ranked 11th in the country today, and they take on a Baylor team on Saturday night. Let's get to the highlights.
Man, you were popping that pre-workout.
Dude, I get so amped up on game days. Like, I can't even function. That's why I hate these night games. Because it's like you gotta save all this energy. I don't know how the players do it. I'm just sitting there. That'd be hard, right? See, that's what I hated about doing afternoon radio. I loved working with Ross. The idea for your body to have like absolute energy at 4:00 in the afternoon, it doesn't work that way, right? Like your clock doesn't work that way. So yeah, I was taking some pre. I don't know why. First of all, I don't know why that little punk Aiden snapped a photo of me and sent it to you.
It looked like you were posing for that photo.
No,
it looked like you were showing the whole press box. Look, I'm not ashamed. I am loading up on pre-workout for this game.
Big game, man. It was a whiteout. Baylor was in town.
It did look great. The visuals were pretty cool.
I thought so too.
I feel like so often we have
Look at that.
Teams, programs, universities doing it all backwards. Whiteouts should be at night. You should never do a blackout at night. Blackout, even during the day, isn't great. It doesn't pop. The whiteout pops, and especially at night with the sun going down.
I thought that the whole day, I don't know. I try and not do the latest and greatest thing. Chris, I'm glad you got to experience the new Trice last year because it's just so different than when you were here working. I thought the whole day on Saturday with the night game, undefeated team, it was just perfect, like the atmosphere. It was a really, really cool. And then after the first quarter, we're all like, this is going to be like a vintage Iowa State let everybody down thing. And then they smothered that team like they should have. And it was really a visually just a really perfect day.
And look at that picture. The Sukup end zone looks pretty full.
It's about what?
I don't see
3/4
many open
full, I
spots
think.
there in a lot of
Van
these
Winkle,
pictures.
are you okay with the souk up end zone performance on Saturday night, Matt? Let's get your review.
I was pretty happy with it. I think everyone did a pretty good job staying in their seats. And yeah, the one disappointment of the night was the no drone show. But
Yeah, what the hell happened with that?
We'll
get that another day. It was
Dan
so
McCarney
windy.
was in town.
I saw him setting up for it in the lots when I was walking in.
Actually, I reached out to somebody from Iowa State. It's so funny. I thought my dad was just going to pack up and leave when they canceled the. My dad has been asking me about this goddamn drone show for like 5. Well, what time is it going to be? I don't know, Dad. Well, I heard when they did it at Nebraska, it was like the coolest thing ever. I was talking to this guy, and I can't wait too, Dad. It's going to be great.
Well, I put a question out on Twitter that morning. I said, does anybody know anything about drones? Because I don't think they're going to be flying these things with this wind. It was 20 miles per hour plus.
Yeah, so I asked Iowa State at like 2:00, and they were like, "Well, we're waiting on this because we may not be able to because it's too windy." And then, yeah, sure enough, that's what happened. So, anyways,
when were they going to do it? At halftime?
They were going to do it at halftime, right before the game came back. So, like in front of half the audience because everybody's out in their parking lot drinking. Although I did feel like, knock on wood, this fan base is taking it very seriously now. Like, I didn't even feel like I thought people were for the most part back in their seat when the third quarter kicked off, which is not an Iowa State football thing. Usually it's half the third quarter before they get back in from the binge drinking in the parking lot. So, good day. Iowa State takes care of business. We have a lot to talk about with Iowa. I might have a different perspective on the Hawkeyes for you to just bounce off of you, so this could be hopefully enlightening for the audience. I watched it from a very different mindset than you did. I watched the Iowa game again last night. I was up really late watching these games back. Let's just start with Iowa State, though. Ranked 11th now after a crazy day in college football. Upsets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Similar field, I thought, Chris, a little bit when you look back macro at that Houston game where, you struggle with a team that you're clearly better than, but then you just kind of step on their throats. And there's a lot of stuff to go through with this. But to me, it's been a theme of this show for 2.5 years since we've been doing it. And Matt Campbell talks about winning in the margins. Let me give you 3 statistics. Iowa State, one of 10 teams in college football that has blocked multiple punts this year. Iowa State, the 5th least penalized team in college football. Notably, Iowa still is the least penalized team in college football. And the Cyclones currently are ranked 6th nationally in turnover margin. What does that mean? Well, you can overcome some injuries on defense and not playing your A game as far as the offense goes, because I still think that they have another step where they can get offensively. When you're doing stuff like that, man, it gives you a lot more of a margin to win when you're doing all that stuff really well. That's my biggest takeaway.
That was not a good start again. And then you factor in the injuries that happened early in that game. Take us back. What was your feeling and what was the vibe in the stadium because you guys were there?
I thought
when all that was going down.
When there was one point in the second quarter where I had counted 9 starters were down on defense.
Jeez.
Okay, they were at a 5th string middle linebacker who's a walk-on who I had never even heard of. Down a corner, they were down there 2 interior defensive linemen. Like, it was really, really dire there. I didn't think they were going to be able to stop Baylor, and it wasn't one of those deals where it's like, oh, Haycock will make adjustments like we've seen so many times. I didn't feel like that way at one point. Now, clearly he did, and that guy is just really good at his job, and a bunch of those guys ended up coming back, thank God, injury-wise. But that was my feel. My feel was that, okay, I've heard about this offense. They're going to have to go out and score 40 on their own tonight. And then they blocked that punt and took it for a touchdown, and that really,
changed everything.
That changed the whole game. Yeah, and then after that, it was just kind of like a party because I don't think most people thought Iowa State would lose after that. But, yeah, I didn't necessarily think they were going to lose at that point because the offense was moving the ball. It wasn't like they were stalling out and they were kicking field goals instead of getting in the end zone. But I was really worried about the defense, and and that's going to be my thing this week too. It's like that's really hard to do when you're playing with 4th, 5th string guys in the middle of your defense. And I hope Kaleb Johnson comes back this week. He left the game in the second quarter. He was running around on the sideline. It looked to me like he tweaked a hamstring or something. But legit, dude, they were playing with a 5th string middle linebacker who's a walk-on freshman from Britt, Iowa in that game.
And if you don't know who he is, you know he's deep down the depth chart.
I had no idea. I'm like,
all you care about is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stringers.
Like, is this guy on scholarship? Bloom didn't know who he is. Bloom pays the players. He had no idea who that kid was.
Well, he wasn't paying that kid. Not yet, anyway.
No, that kid ain't gotten a dime, apparently.
This game kind of went exactly how I envisioned it. I thought that it would shift more into the second half. Like, there would be more, as I said last week, consternation and constipation into the third and then fourth quarter, and then Iowa State would kind of pull away. Because I had this game being tight and fans being really worried and Baylor doing crazy things through about 3 quarters, and then I had Iowa State winning by 10. I thought that the way Iowa State just snapped out of it in that second quarter was really impressive. I mean, it was within 90 seconds, the touchdown to Bramer, the 10-yard pass, and then the blocked punt for a touchdown. All that happened in a span of 90 seconds on the clock. And you all of a sudden you go from down 14-6 to up 19-14. And Baylor did retake the lead early in that third quarter, but I was never really concerned after that. Iowa State responded with that 5-play, 75-yard drive and the Jalen Jackson touchdown run and took the lead and never gave up another point to Baylor and running away with it. And that's what championship teams are supposed to do. You know, you have a little struggle early, and then you put these bastards away. And they didn't really have a sweat in that fourth quarter.
This interception was great, too. John Williams with the pick.
Good video from WHO TV.
John Tez is arguably the best player on that defense the way he's playing right now. Really good stuff right there from the sophomore corner.
God, and those uniforms look good. The black and white's growing on me a little bit. The Cyclones on the helmet was great. Yeah, it was a perfect touch to those uniforms. Get that I-State the hell out of there.
I liked it. No, I did. I like that combination better than the all black with the white.
Yeah. Are they going to wear the black tops at all this year? Do you know? Was that one of the?
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
So they still will.
Well, they
go black top.
When they did that showcase thing over the summer, that was one of the combinations. So yeah, I'm assuming that I don't know why they wouldn't wear the blacks. Real quick, the really interesting here, the odds to make the college football playoff and odds to win the Big 12 updated from DraftKings. To make the college football playoff right now, Iowa State is almost even money.
Can I bet the other side of that? Is there another side of that? A yes, no? Because
actually, yeah, there was. I didn't add that up, but I did see yes, no. I didn't see if Iowa State was on the list, but I did see some of them were. I don't know what that is. Maybe Maddie could go and look.
Because that's just if it's almost even money to make the playoff. I mean, give me the other side of that.
Plus 180, so you would be looking. Yeah, you wouldn't be getting even money. Kansas State plus 200. Utah plus 220. Odds to win the Big 12 right now. So this would be the Big 12 championship game. Iowa State plus 300 is the clear favorite. You have to go down to Kansas State at plus 425. Utah plus 500. West Virginia plus 750. So West Virginia, Iowa State is a massive game.
Those are two of the top 4 in odds to win the Big 12. And West Virginia's got it in their home building.
The other one, too, and you know I like these guys in the offseason, and then they looked like crap for 2 weeks, and they had an awesome win at Arizona. Texas Tech, plus 800. Look at Texas Tech's schedule. When they roll into Ames in a few weeks, they will be undefeated in the Big 12. That game all of a sudden looks really, really, really tasty. I mean, that could be like a big noon kickoff type game.
They are the only 3-0 team in the Big 12. They're the only team that is
And they
won
play
3 games already
between now and then. They don't play
They've got
anybody.
Baylor at home.
Yep.
Go to TCU. And then it's at Iowa State.
Tech will be 5-0 in the Big 12 when they come to Iowa State on November 2nd. So keep that one circled. That could be a massive, massive spot for the entire conference with that Texas Tech game. Then you have to go all the way down to 900 for Colorado. And interesting, BYU, still the undefeated team. I think they're ranked like 13th plus 1,400. So nobody thinks that BYU has the horses to actually pull this thing off.
You know, we're going to find out a lot this week in the Big 12. Looking at the matchups, Utah has to go on the road to Arizona State on a Friday night.
That's tough.
Utah's favored by about 4. They've already got that one loss. You've got BYU hosting Arizona. BYU's only favored by 3 or 4. The Iowa State-West Virginia game, obviously, and then Kansas State goes to Colorado. Kansas State favored by 6 there.
That's a huge game. After dark.
Yeah.
9:15 kick.
This is a monstrous weekend in the Big 12.
Probably one of the best weekends of the year, I would think.
Oh, God. Yeah. In college football as a whole, and then when you look at the Big 12, and look, Iowa's got a big game too. We'll get into Iowa in a little bit, but that Washington game is really big.
I think macro for this show, this might be the biggest weekend of the year because I think it separates like what these seasons are going to be for both teams. Mm-hmm. If Iowa State beats West Virginia on the road like this, it's like, okay, buckle the hell up, you know, and they could even afford to lose this game and still make the Big 12 championship game. Like you probably drop one, I think, if you're Iowa State and still get into that position. But Iowa, it's like, we can get into them, lose this game, and then it could kind of start to get ugly there. Win this game, and man, like, well, we could still go 10-2 potentially.
Yeah,
9-3, right? Because I have a different read on that Iowa-Ohio State game than many people. I want to thank a couple of our great sponsors. First of all, Channel Seed. This is funny. Our guy Dustin Fouch, you know Fouch. He, because farmers they got all sorts of firewood. Yeah, they got more firewood than you know what to do with.
Why do farmers have so much firewood?
Timber. He told me he sends a bunch of people just to go and cut down. Yeah, timber. You got to trim that firewood down. You got to thin the timber. God, you're such a city.
What are you talking about? They don't. It's all cornfields. Where's
no, it's not all cornfields. No, we got all kinds of other stuff going on. Nonetheless, Fouch brings a bunch of firewood over.
Over to what? The RV?
Yeah, you know.
You have a fireplace in the RV?
No, you got a fire pit outside.
Oh, because
the boys
get the trash can going, little trash can fire.
The boys out there, they're watching the Arizona and Texas Tech game along with the Miami Cal game late after the Iowa State game. Fouch's wife, just a sweetheart of a woman. She was very concerned that I had not eaten dinner after a long, hard day of work of drinking pre-tea, pre-workout in the press box. She was
Wait, you didn't have a pregame meal in the press box?
They served one. I didn't eat it.
What?
I ate something at the camper before I went in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, Fouch comes rolling over. I get back at around 12:30. Fouch comes rolling over with like a bunch of slop buckets that probably like pigs have shit in and all this stuff. And they were filled with dip. His wife had sent dip over for me to eat some chips and dip after the game. Now, that's a true friend right there.
What do you mean by slop bucket?
You don't know, like a slop bucket. You carry around on the farm. You fill it up with, like, fertilizer, that type of good stuff.
And cow milk? Like what you...
Oh, yeah. You squeeze the teat.
And there was just dip filling that thing?
2 types of dip. We had a meat dip and we had a cheese dip. Could mix them together. That's a good friend right there. And then Fouch
I wouldn't trust that bucket.
Fouch had a few drinks, and I thought he was going to get in a fight with a guy about seed brands.
Uh-oh.
This other guy was like touting another seed brand, and then Fouch was being like really super passive aggressive about how like lame they are. Oh, it was wild. It was a wild situation. Shout out to all the channel seedsmen out there who are harvesting right now. We appreciate you. I also want to give much love to our friends at the Iowa Event Center with all the great things that they have coming up at Wells Fargo Arena. Really one of the highlights for us was when they put our logo on the ice for the NHL game a couple weeks ago. That was very cool. We appreciate them and that partnership so much. They mean so much to our great community. Getting the NCAA tournament back in 2028. What else do we have going on, Matty Van Winks?
Well, they're giving us some pairs of tickets to, actually 4 packs of tickets to Disney on Ice.
Yes.
So if you go to iowaeverywhere.com, you can enter. I think we're giving away like 10 4-packs. So you got a good chance to get to Disney on Ice.
There's nothing Hassel would hate more than going to Disney on Ice.
Oh, God.
Maybe you being at that cheerleader thing on Friday night, Hassel would hate that too.
Oh,
Matt's
Van Winks
daughter
was sending pictures of his daughter dancing out on the field
just
at halftime.
thousands of kids spreading COVID.
Yeah, I had an interesting viewing experience in that second quarter because we had to go drop the kids off to get on the field. So I missed the Bramer touchdown and the blocked punt.
Jesus.
We hear everyone screaming. I'm just watching it from this tiny little screen.
Channel Seeds Dustin Fouch apparently is watching and leaving comments right now. And I didn't even know what to do with those buckets the next day because they smelled like manure/dip.
I can't believe you ate out of those things. What is wrong with you?
No, it's good for your, you know.
You're going to get hoof and mouth disease.
Well, there's worse things out there. Okay, Iowa, well, I listened to Instant Iowa.
Uh-huh.
Great show. Love that you guys just went on at the end of the third quarter. You're like, fuck it. Nothing going to change here. I was super, like, call me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting for this take because I haven't heard anything from you on the Iowa game.
Their first half was really good, I thought. Like, I had way less expectations for Iowa than I think a lot of Iowa fans did this week. Because, like,
okay, what were your expectations going into the game?
I thought they would get blown out.
They did.
Yeah. I thought they would
They
get
did
blown
get
out.
blown out.
I didn't think they would even be able to compete for 2 quarters the way that they did, though. Like, I really didn't. I thought McNamara was going to go out there and not look like Deacon Hill, but damn close. Like, I really thought that's where this thing was going to go. I didn't think they had any match for Ohio State. I thought this would be – honestly, I had it whatever my pick was, but it was a substantial blowout. I just think Ohio State's so different than anyone else who's going to be on their schedule. If they can play like that first half, they're going to be in every game. Like, honestly, like they will be in. But that's the problem. Like, they have to be able to play like that first half. The McNamara turnovers, like I felt like Ohio State just wore them the hell down because they're that much better than Iowa. And I do think too there's an element of this where in NIL. In this new era of college football, clearly we can agree that there's more parity in the sport at the top end, right? Like we're seeing this. Like there's more teams that are able to win a national championship than there were 10 years ago. The problem is there's a pretty substantial drop-off once you get past them, and I don't think Iowa's one of those teams.
But you say that, and on the very same day,
I know
Vanderbilt beats Alabama.
Yep.
Right? Arkansas beats Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota beats USC. Why does it feel like all these other teams can do it?
Because I was not there. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I don't think USC is any comparison to Ohio
USC
State,
is not
clearly.
Ohio State. But Alabama and Tennessee are pretty damn close. You've got these top teams that are either losing or getting pushed to the edge.
I don't know what the answer is. I'm saying when I look at the rest of the schedule this year for
Iowa. But that's not the problem, okay? The problem isn't the rest of the schedule. The problem is, again, Iowa proves that it does not belong on the same field as a ranked team, as a really good, maybe great
That is fair.
team.
That is
Where
fair. I'm analyzing the rest of this year. You have no one else like this on your schedule. And they beat the shit out of you because they're that much better than you, which you clearly know. You watched the game.
And that has been the number one problem with Iowa fans that they've had with the program over the last 3 years, is the fact that they cannot even compete. They did for a half, and that was better than some of the games they played in recent history against ranked teams.
Like, this is the best it will ever be under Kirk Ferentz? Are you ready to move on? Like what? Like if he goes 9-3, right? Like I'm just saying, I don't think this iteration of Iowa football can. I don't think they'll ever get back to where they're beating the Ohio States like that. Is that a hot take? Or is that
no? It's not.
I don't think that they will because they haven't evolved.
I don't
They don't have the NIL budget.
But the Cade McNamara NIL buy was supposed to bridge that gap. Was supposed to get them closer.
It was poor money spent,
and it hasn't even come close.
Blame the GM.
You have,
and I don't think Brendan Sullivan is going to just magically make you compete with Ohio State either.
Well, no,
it's a much bigger problem.
But look at what Cade McNamara has done. It was David Eicholt who tweeted after the game that he has not thrown a touchdown pass against a power conference team in an Iowa jersey. You know the last time Cade McNamara threw a touchdown pass against a power team?
Was it for Michigan?
It was for Michigan.
So it was a long time ago then. I mean, it had to be 2021.
3 years ago, Big Ten championship game against Iowa.
Wow.
That is the last time Cade McNamara threw a touchdown pass against a power conference team.
Yeah, it's a bad stat.
Now, McNamara wasn't horrible in the first half.
No, he was pretty good in the first half.
But
I didn't think he had that in him, honestly, Chris. I didn't think he could play that well against.
He missed Weegan on what could have been a touchdown if he throws a good pass on third down in that opening drive. Weegan, he's at least in the red zone. Missed it. You can't miss those. Iowa had several opportunities to not just hang in the game in the first half, but to make this a game, to get a lead in the first half, and they just couldn't take advantage of any of those opportunities.
I think that I had such low expectations for McNamara, probably compared to most of your fan base, because the thing is, Michigan let him go.
But I don't.
Right?
Well, you're talking about going back 2 years.
Yeah, this wasn't oh man, we really need to keep this guy. No, McCarthy just right, and that's not JJ McCarthy was the 5th pick in the NFL draft. I get it. But it wasn't like they were fighting to keep him. When he played for Michigan, he had better players around him. He had a better coach offensively around him. He still had a weak arm, right? He still wasn't dynamic with his legs. If you watch those, it was like Jake Rudock out there. That's what McNamara was when he played for Michigan. Then he transfers to Iowa, and y'all think that he's going to be. He was never that guy, and I never understood. And then he's injury prone on top of it. My opinion, they won't do it. Sullivan doesn't make a difference against Ohio State, but he damn does against the rest of these when you can move around and do that type of thing. This is like the Browns and Deshaun Watson right now. You need to they're in the exact same spot. You got to make the change, and it will change the whole team around them. The problem is I don't know if it's financially they feel like they have to play McNamara. I know that's what the Browns are like with Watson.
I don't think it's financial with Kirk Ferentz. I just think this is how he is with starting quarterbacks, and he's not going to make a change. And he made that very clear after the game, as we 100% expected. Sullivan just seems to me, and I think a lot of fans, like a much better fit for a Tim Lester offense.
And he can just move.
The guy can move.
That's the key.
I feel like he makes decisions quicker.
McNamara's not accurate either. That's the thing.
No.
It's not like this guy's out there and you're just, he's going to complete 80% of his passes. It's I don't know why. I mean, if there's anybody still out there for. I mean, I didn't think he could play as well as he did in the first half. I was like, damn. Maybe
Ferentz said after the game he's still improving. He continues to improve, and can we hold on to the fucking laces? That fumble,
the Jenny Dell insight that you gave on Instant Iowa, that was great.
Yeah,
it also tells me how poor the coaching's been with the quarterbacks. It's like, God.
Maybe you can make some throws the same without the laces, but when you get bumped in the pocket, the ball's going to squirt out of your hand easier if you're not holding on to the laces, and that's exactly what happened in the second half with one of those fumbles.
We are in a totally different spot with the two programs right now, and this is why I've been touting where I like this new Big 12 for Iowa State specifically. Are you at the quote-unquote big boys table? Well, kind of. I mean, you're at the kid. You're not group of five. They don't.
For now, you are. I do worry where it's going to be in 5 years with
Absolutely.
the Big 12.
But my point is that I've always thought Iowa State in its current form would compete really well in this league.
Mm-hmm.
When you have continuity at the coaching staff, all that stuff. Matt Campbell, I think, is definitely a top 2-3 coach in this league. Gundy and Whittingham are in there in that conversation with all that they've done. Iowa State can compete in this league for the foreseeable future. Big picture, we'll wait and see how everything plays out as far as how this thing's going to work. Iowa's in a much more difficult spot when you look at what the Big Ten has done, where you're at with funding, all of that stuff with these players.
Iowa State doesn't have a Ohio State, Penn State,
that's my
Michigan,
point.
Oregon at the top.
You're punching at your own weight class. So now Iowa fans are like, well, you're not playing anybody. Yeah, it's like what you guys were. You were playing the Big Ten West all the time. You knew you could beat those teams. You knew who they were. They were teams very similar to you. That's what Iowa State is now in with the Big 12. And I love it. Like I would rather be in this spot than be Vanderbilt or Northwestern staring down the pike at whatever is coming in their direction.
Vanderbilt just beat the number 1 team in the country, pal.
Yeah.
I didn't like what Kirk Ferentz said after the game when he was asked about the continued embarrassments against the top teams. He said, well, we'd have to go back to January 1st. That's probably the last time we had a game like this. And he said it like that was, wow, geez, that was 10 months ago. It's been a long time. Yeah, I mean, how many power teams have they played since then? Iowa State and Minnesota? I mean, what is he talking about? It's that touchdown by Kaleb Johnson. It's unbelievable. I added up all the numbers.
Let's hear them.
Ranked teams had scored 165 consecutive points against Iowa, dating back to the 2022 Ohio State game. Ohio State scored 38 straight in that game to close it out. Then Penn State beats Iowa 31-0. Then Michigan beats Iowa 26-0. Then Tennessee beats Iowa 35-0. And then Ohio State scored the first 35 points of this game this weekend. 165 straight points you allowed to ranked opponents. The problem isn't, can we win 9 games? Yeah, maybe with that schedule.
I don't think they will. But.
It's that Scott Docterman wrote a great piece in The Athletic and I think New York Times specifically about this. The struggles that Iowa's had the last few years compared to what they were as a program. From 2008 to 2021, Iowa played 16 top 10 opponents. This isn't just ranked.
Okay. 16
top 10 opponents. They won half of those games. They were 8-8 against top 10 opponents. From 2008 to 2001. So 2008 all the way until these recent struggles. And of the 8 losses, they won 8 of them. Of the 8 losses, only one game did they lose by more than 10 points. One game. That was that Rose Bowl debacle. And now 8 straight games Iowa's played against ranked teams, just ranked teams, not even top 10, ranked teams, and they've lost all of them. They were only competitive in one of them, and that was the 20-17 loss to Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl in the 2021 season. It's pathetic.
I get your point.
And yeah, you can look at that schedule.
I get it. I
and you don't see a single ranked team on it the rest of the way. And you could see 9 potentially. I don't think they run the table. I had them at 9 coming into the season. I don't know if they reach 9. This weekend's big. And we kind of hinted at it earlier in the show. This is one of those swing games. You come home, you beat Washington in pretty much a toss-up.
And they are better than we thought they would be, for the record.
Yeah, they just beat Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan's not great, but they beat Michigan.
They are better than we thought they would be.
I think Nebraska should be ranked by the end of the season.
I think Nebraska's the best team on the schedule the rest of the way. I'm not sure that it's close.
I agree.
But if you beat Washington, then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, we're not even close to being able to compete with the best. But we could maybe, be a ranked team again. We could maybe stay in the Big Ten hunt for a while. You lose this game, and it could start to get ugly. And Kirk Ferentz has done a great job of, in these situations over the last few years, where you're getting your ass kicked and embarrassed by these ranked teams, but he's still able to churn out these victories in these, games that you should win. And I think, going into this is a game you should win at home against Washington, a team that didn't bring back anybody.
Favored by 2.5, I believe, is where the number was.
He's done a good job with that, and he's kind of kept, he can always say, well, yeah, but we won 10 games. Well, yeah, but we won 9 games. You lose this one, and things start to get pretty hairy.
Is the last time Iowa played Washington the infamous Ronnie Harmon game?
No, because they played Washington in the 91 Rose Bowl as well.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, that was the Ronnie Harmon game, right? Nick Bell played. He was the running back in 91.
Ronnie Harmon was like 85, wasn't it?
Okay. Well, what's the one where everybody thought he cheated?
That was like 85 or 86.
Was that against Washington?
I don't remember. They played
one.
Washington. One of the first games I ever remember was Iowa, Washington, Rose Bowl, 91, 92.
They've
Nick
played
Bell was
6
just
times. There was the 1995 Iowa won 38-18.
Was that must have been a bowl game?
It was
I
a
don't
bowl
remember that.
game. El Paso, I don't know what bowl game that was. But
Sun Bowl. Yeah, that was a Sun Bowl.
91, Washington won.
Rose Bowl.
Okay, everybody's saying it was against UCLA.
Yeah, the Ronnie Harmon game was UCLA, like
my
85,
apologies
86.
on that. I knew it was a Pac-12 team. Yeah. Old Nick Bell in 1991. I remember that one too. That was such a big deal that Iowa got. I have my Uncle Dick's commemorative Rose Bowl whiskey glass right up there.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. I have some stuff from my uncle that if I ever sold it, which I won't because it was so special to him, I would never do that, but I could make a shit ton of money. He has this like vintage Iowa, these like Coke bottles and these. Oh, it's wild. You would think it's pretty cool. All right, so that's coming up. That is coming up on Saturday. So Iowa and Iowa State are both. Iowa's a 2.5-point favorite at home. Iowa State is a 3-point favorite at West Virginia. Where I know, Chris, that you've been telling everybody you've been just not wanting Iowa State fans to enjoy this. You're just trying to shit all over their excitement.
Enjoy it. Just don't put that cart too far out ahead of the horse, because this is the game here.
Did you know real quick that our guy Anthony Becht is being put into the West Virginia Hall of Fame at halftime?
Oh, that's this week at that game. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
neat,
interesting.
isn't it?
Yeah,
that's kind of neat.
It is. That's nice that they scheduled that when his son is playing against them. They're fired up. It's the Coal Rush game. They're going to be wearing their shitty black, white, gray uniforms. They're excited again, rejuvenated, because they've turned things around. They've won their first 2 Big 12 games. They're looking like the team they were last year, and now they've got a top 12 team coming in. Night game. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere there. It's going to be, I think, a lot like the atmosphere in Ames last weekend.
Matchup-wise, be careful here, too, because they ran for almost 400 yards on Oklahoma State. They have an NFL-caliber quarterback. They will, and Neil Brown's a good offensive coach. Iowa State's defense will get a test unlike it has seen. Now, the Baylor quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, was pretty good. He graded out in like the 80s on Pro Football Focus. I thought going into the game he's better than Daquan Finn, and he really tested you a little bit. Totally different deal on Saturday night. I hope that the injuries don't completely – I do – handicapping this thing looking ahead, Iowa State's offense, again, it's got to keep ascending. Now, running game is there.
Man,
you had 2 running backs, Jalen Jackson, Carson Hansen. Carson Hansen was 3 yards from a 100-yard game. So you almost had 2 guys over 100 yards. Offensive line, Jalen Travis on that left side is getting really, really good. So I'm buying stock in Iowa State's offense right now. I love Haycock. I love the secondary. The D-line is good, not great. I just hope that the injury pile up, and this scares me with what West Virginia's offense has been able to do recently going into this football game.
It's got to be Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes. Get that defense going. Despite the injuries, this is it, man. This is the biggest game of the year right here for Iowa State. Biggest game of the year.
I had a friend of mine who this buddy of mine I don't see very often, down 20 pounds, started going to game day Men's Health. This guy's probably in his 50s. Comes up to me on Friday night, says, "Man, I can't thank you enough for telling me about these folks." That's kind of neat, isn't it? We're changing people's lives here on Two Guys with Chris and a splash of Van Winks.
Downs was in there too.
Yeah, Downs is all teed
AD
up.
went in there. They told him, "Hey, you've got enough tea. You don't necessarily need any more tea." He said, "Fuck that. Give me the shot."
I don't think you can have too much tea, honestly, in my opinion.
And did you see Iowa State honored you with the T formation against Baylor on that 1st and goal?
I did see that, yeah.
They shifted into the T formation. It didn't work. It was terrible.
Dude, I love how Mauser's calling these games so far. We're only 5 games in, but they are aggressive, man. They are throwing it downfield. It's fun. It's fun to watch. All right, so I feel like right now, a little insight to the show. People like to get, the inside information. How does Iowa Everywhere work, the inner workings of this? Are you on Van Winkle okay? Because I'm doing Williams and Bloom yesterday, and I check my phone, and Van Winkle's telling you to fuck off in a text message. I just feel like you're just nudging Van Winkle.
Well,
are you guys okay?
Van Winks is down bad. It was a really bad day on social media for Matt Van Winkle. In fact, he might need to be
it wasn't
suspended
bad
again.
at all. Wasn't bad at all.
Really bad day. He was tweeting about how Iowa State has just a horrible game day experience, continue to play bad songs, hates Mr. Brightside. Hates it.
I don't like that song either.
Look how dumb that looks.
You don't like it either? What do you mean?
No.
So the only thing I could say in your defense is that this is Michigan's thing.
Yeah.
Michigan
Why are we
does
doing
the
this?
Mr. Brightside.
Leave
That's
it to
their
them.
thing. They've been doing it for 10 years. That doesn't mean you can't play it in your stadium. It's just a song, but I don't think it can be any kind of a tradition. I think it's a great song. What's wrong with the song?
It's emo. It's stupid. Why are we playing it?
Emo's great. I love emo. What's wrong with emo?
Iowa State just needs to lean into like hardcore 90s like gangster rap or total redneck stuff. One of the two. Like I would prefer like Tupac Hit 'Em Up unedited.
Sure.
Williams, you have the weirdest taste in music.
Our friend Tom Hyde was saying Slipknot.
In China.
Slipknot? No.
Yes.
God, no.
More metal, less emo.
Jeez, no. Metal? No, give me a break with that crap.
What about?
I'm not a
if they would
Sweet
start
Caroline guy. I don't like that.
What if they played Aaron Lewis in these?
That's Kelderman's boy, right?
Anything but Mr. Brightside.
That's Kelderman's guy.
I put a poll out, by the way, and 33% of people are with me. So
33%.
Yeah, that's
So
more
that
than I
means
thought. Actually,
67% are against you.
Just imagine Slipknot. They're all just.
Yeah. No thanks. No thanks.
Speaking of Kelderman, let's do today's Triple B. Bigger, better, bolder.
Bigger, better, bolder. Built by Kelderman Manufacturing.
Michael Jordan. Have you heard about Michael Jordan, what he's doing right now?
Isn't he like suing NASCAR?
Yeah.
Because he's got a team, right?
Yeah, so he owns the team with Bubba Wallace, and he's very influential in the sport. And so NASCAR is a different sport because it's privately owned by like a family, right? It's just a really weird sport. It's very like 1950 how the sport is set up. It hasn't really evolved. So their new television contracts, it's just like college football where there's a lot of value in NASCAR because they have the trucks, and then they have the Xfinity series, and they have practice, and they have qualifying. There's a lot of places to put live sports. And Michael Jordan, won't spend too much time on this, but he's so rich. NASCAR gave their teams an ultimatum and said, take it or leave it with their new television contract and their new financial setup. And 13 of the 15 teams signed it immediately because they didn't have an option. Like, it was like, well, if we don't do this, what else are we going to do? Michael Jordan gave them the double bird and is taking them to federal court to change the way the sport is governed. And it's going to get wild because NASCAR is a private company, and now it has to open up its checkbook. And it is creating all sorts. And I'm just going to be real. I've been around this sport a long time. It's like this renegade black dude from the NBA is now coming in, and he's taking us to court. It is awesome what Michael Jordan is doing. He is going to change the entire sport of NASCAR the way it's set up. Bigger, better, bolder. Our guy, MJ, the GOAT, greatest athlete in the history of the universe, and now he is in my favorite sport, and he is fucking things up, and I absolutely love it.
It's probably good. In the end, it's going to be good for NASCAR because
absolutely.
The more people hear that Michael Jordan's involved in NASCAR and is doing something there, they're going to go, wow, if he's interested, maybe I'll be interested
It's
too.
Great. I have my popcorn out. I cannot wait to watch this unfold.
My triple B is the Arizona Cardinals defense for picking off Brock Purdy twice and beating. No, I'm just kidding. It's not San Francisco, but Van Winks is down bad.
That was why he was all amped up yesterday. You were
I was digging my own grave last night.
Brock Purdy did not lose that game.
No,
for him, by the way.
No,
stop it. What do you got, Hassel?
I mean, you can argue he did. He had 2 interceptions in the game, including one that sealed
if
the
that
game.
Rookie running back doesn't fumble on the 3-yard line, they punch it in and they're up by 2 scores.
My triple B is just the great college football chaos that we had on Saturday. I mean, from the top down. Number 1, Bama, losing on the road at Vanderbilt. Number 4, Tennessee, losing on the road at Arkansas. Minnesota beats USC. You had Miami coming from 25 down in the second half to beat Cal. Look, that wasn't an upset, but just the crazy comeback, the great late games that we had. Everywhere you looked, in every single window, it was just pure college football greatness.
Is the Vanderbilt-Bama win one of the most surprising ones you can remember over the years? Because Vanderbilt's always like the punchline.
Yeah.
Right?
And the stadium was 80% Bama fans in Nashville.
And then they took the goalpost all the way down to Broadway. And that was one of the biggest upsets I ever remember. I don't know about the point spread.
Point spread was only about 21.
But
22.
just mentally, because Bama's the program and Vanderbilt is always the shit program that everybody just makes fun of in the SEC. That was great. Mm-hmm. Absolutely love that.
Hey, there's Brock Purdy. What is it? Are you going to sneak him in there for your triple B there, Van Winks?
No, but I should.
Who's your triple B, Matty?
Oh, man, Jalen Jackson, what a game. That was so fun to watch him. He's been a total bright spot for that offense. And
so shifty.
Did not expect that from him. I mean, with Abu Sama coming in off the hype last year, this was his first time in his career going over 100 yards, scored a couple touchdowns. He's just got that twitch, man. That's so fun to watch. Don't know where he's going to go on the field.
Special play there on that last touchdown he had. He had 2 touchdowns. That was pretty incredible. He
just leaped into the end zone.
And I said this on Williams and Bloom, Hassel, but shout out to Iowa State for recruiting him. If you would have really didn't think that they needed help at running back at the end of last year with Hansen and Sama, but they bring this transfer in from Eastern Michigan. I'm assuming, I don't know the details, but I'm assuming he was a good buy, to quote Mike Gundy. I can't imagine this kid cost a lot in the portal, and he is making a huge difference for Iowa State right now.
And he's tiny. He's like, 5'7"?
Yeah. We do have some breaking news that we'll get to, but I want to thank those daggum Kaburski brothers, the Kaburski Brothers Lawn Care, enjoying the landscaping they did in my backyard. And they were super clean, super professional, all that good stuff. Absolutely love working with this locally owned company. I know they're doing some. Maddie spent some time with them dadgum Kaburskis a couple weeks ago. They're fantastic dudes. Remember them for all of your lawn care, landscaping, and snow removal. Please tell them that two guys sent you here with Iowa Everywhere. Full Court Press family of restaurants as well. They are supporting what we do here on Iowa Everywhere. I like Fong's Pizza myself. Get me that crab rangoon pizza.
You really eat the crab rangoon pizza?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't think that'd be up your alley.
Oh, it's so good. So freaking good. Okay. Caleb Brown. Are we going to have an emergency podcast
Well,
here?
we're live right now, so here's your emergency.
The only time in history of this esteemed media company we've had an emergency podcast due to a signing was when Caleb Brown committed to the University of Iowa. He just announced this at 8:57. It's 9:21 now. I'm going to read it for the podcast audience. I've decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing any additional games this season. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season, and I hope for continued success of the program. Hassel, take it away.
I mean, you saw the writing on the wall, didn't you?
He's getting like one snap a game. Like, I don't blame him.
He was a late scratch for this past week, and I think a lot of people, their minds went there. The guy, it's not. This isn't a big deal. This is not a big deal. He has never really contributed. One catch for 18 yards this year. Last year, 22 catches, 215, and a touchdown. When he was at Ohio State, one catch, 5 yards. Look, if I'm this kid, I'm going somewhere else too, probably. I mean, clearly he was not in the good graces of the coaching staff. You had, was it Lester that said he was not running the correct routes earlier this season? I mean, I think if he's out there and he's like Jacob Gill running the correct routes and all that, he's playing. But something was off there. Something never worked. And maybe it's why it didn't work at Ohio State either. I mean, it's too bad. I wish it would have worked. The kid clearly has talent. But look, let's move on. I mean, he wasn't going to make that much of a difference this year anyway. And he hasn't reach that threshold where you can burn your red shirt, so go somewhere else where you can play.
This does suck for college football, though. Central Florida had two guys do this last week who were starters.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're a starter, you're a contributor. This guy wasn't.
This is becoming.
I don't necessarily blame him that much. He wasn't seeing the field anyway. Like
I don't blame him.
He didn't play this past week. He saw one snap in the Minnesota game. One snap.
This is becoming a compounding problem in college football.
Yes.
Like, it just keeps getting worse. And there's more guys sitting around watching what these people are doing, and then they get ideas. And like it is, again, this doesn't matter to Iowa, but it is happening elsewhere. God, it sucked that UNLV lost. I was rooting for UNLV so much the other night against Syracuse, just because that's such a great story.
Yeah, they really blew that one.
That sucked. Well, they still have a chance to make the playoff and be the best Group of 5 team potentially.
I don't know. After that loss,
tough.
I'm not sure they do. I think Boise might be running away with that.
Have to get some help for sure.
So Randy Peterson asked a good question. Does he forfeit NIL money? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, whatever he got, he gets to keep. We saw it with, just going back to Tristan Wirfs this offseason. He may not have gotten all of the money that he would have, but Brian Heinrich said maybe about 10%. And he says that it didn't come out of the pockets of the fans. But, I mean, these guys, there's nothing that makes them give money back. I mean, they're almost being paid just to attend the school.
This is such a two-way thing, because the whole UNLV deal with that quarterback, everybody's like, oh.
Yeah, I said Tristan Wirfs. Why didn't you correct me? Caden Proctor. God. You got to save me from myself sometimes.
Well,
Tristan Wirf's got a hell of a lot more money because he just signed a new contract in the NFL for big.
Are Iowa fans
bucks.
actively rooting against Proctor? Is that a thing?
I think
Or
some
do they
are,
just-
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think
just
some are.
How are Iowa fans doing with Iowa State being the 11th ranked program in the country and a favorite to make the college football playoff?
Ask my dad. He's texting about him all the time. I mean, he talks about there are two things that my dad talks about every day in the group chat. Iowa State and Donald Trump. And it's because they're the two things that bother him the most. Every day, just bitching about this and that.
Did you see my dad's tweet?
Oh,
on
that was
Saturday
that was
or on
pretty good.
Sunday? Matt,
That was
if you
pretty
could
good.
pull that up, the Mike Williams tweet from Sunday morning. To my recollection, and I know Dad, he went to the game and then he drove back, so he probably didn't get back until like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But he didn't tweet about Iowa State's big win. He tweeted a gif of a dog taking a shit with like a little kid tapping it on the back and says, late post after long drive home after Clones go 5-0 on the year. Iowa played a $20 million team at Ohio State. That's a tough assignment. Played them tough after a half. I really didn't think Iowa could score on them. So giving them an attaboy for even scoring.
Just a backhanded compliment for only losing by 28 to Ohio State. But I think Iowa fans are – I'm seeing a lot more of this. Oh, yeah, well, you're in a shitty conference and you don't have to play anybody and your
That's
best
a
win.
rich thing for an Iowa fan to say.
Your best win is against a bad Iowa team.
That's a really rich critique from an Iowa fan.
It's going to keep happening. The more Iowa State wins,
We're all
the
so
more you're going to hear
blinded
from
by
Iowa
our
fans.
fandom. It is the best. I don't give a shit. I want to be in this new Big 12. Iowa State can compete. If Iowa State was in the Big 10 or the SEC right now, they'd have a hell of a chore. You know, they would probably be – you'd have to result to being Vanderbilt or Northwestern, and I don't want that. I would rather be top 4 team in that league year in, year out.
If I'm an Iowa State fan, I want it to be the way it is right now too. But I really worry that the Big Ten and the SEC are just going to say, fuck all y'all.
I just don't think they have the balls with all the court stuff, but you may be right.
Don't tempt them. Don't
Greg
tempt them.
Sankey, did you see his quote last week? This guy is very dislikable. I mean, he is. It is hard to like this guy. At least Jim Delaney. Jim Delaney was an ass, but he was a brilliant one. Like, he built that whole thing. He was a visionary. He's a guy I can respect. I want to have a beer with Jim Delaney and learn a few things. Greg Sankey was born on third and thought he hit a triple. You know, like, I don't want to hear from this guy about how great you are.
So what was it that he said last week?
He basically was like, about the Super League thing. He basically said, like, why would the SEC go down to their level? We built this thing up. We're not going to share resources with those saps below us. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
I'm worried. I'm really worried the way this thing's going. Did you see that proposal that I think Jamie Pollard tweeted about it over the weekend? It was like the president of West Virginia and maybe Syracuse, and they presented this proposal to try to save college football, and it would break everybody up into geographical regions.
The way it should be.
Yeah, the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, God, I would sign up for that in a second, the way that they broke it down. Now, Iowa State kind of got broken away from the Big 12, and Iowa State is in Iowa's region
they would be
in
with
this
like
proposal.
Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois.
Yeah, and Ohio State. But so you would play every team in your little division, it would be like 6 or 7 teams per division. You'd play 5 games in there, and then you'd play 6 outside of your division. And it's all broken up. I think it would be awesome if they did something like that. But Greg Sankey, he's not going to allow that. The SEC and the Big Ten are not going to allow it.
No, because they make too much money and they're
way
not
too
going.
much.
The next move I think will be eliminating teams from these leagues.
Yeah. I don't know how legally you do that other than
I mean once the next grant of rights is up, you can just I don't know. The problem with the Big Ten doing that more so than the SEC is all the academic money. Like I don't know if the Big Ten their academic money trumps what they make athletically with these TV contracts. So another topic for another time. Freedom Tire is a great sponsor of ours. We appreciate all of the Freedom Tire locations. Go ahead, Hassel.
Freedom, freedom, freedom tire.
In Altoona, Ames, on Fleur Drive, in Des Moines, West Des Moines, and on Hickman and Urbandale. Visit freedomtire.com for new tire. Get your new tires before that weather comes in, guys. Speaking of weather, are you going to get hammered by this hurricane? Like, how you doing?
There's some bitches at Cat 4 already.
Jiminy
Christmas. We are not even in the cone right now.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. These hurricanes are just destroying the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
It's heading toward Tampa again. And should make landfall sometime on Wednesday, I believe. But as of now, other than flooding, I think we'll be okay. I think the big news of the day we hit on a little bit ago was the Kaleb Brown departure from Iowa. And you always bring it up. That's the only time we've ever done an emergency podcast. Van Wink pulled a clip from that. Look at me. What the hell? I've got the Hayden Fry cap on. I'm wearing a Hawkeyes scarf.
This looks like it was like 10 years ago when we did this.
So when was this? About 2 years ago?
May 4th, 2023.
Okay, so a year and a half ago. Is it a clip?
I'm just going to play the opening, how excited you were.
Touch on Jeremiah Williams leaving Iowa State basketball, what that means.
Who?
And the big one, Hassel, your boy, Kaleb Brown, the pride of Buckeye Nation, is now an Iowa Hawkeye. And you are amped up. Like, I haven't seen you. I don't know if I've seen you this excited yet since we've worked together.
Chris, it's May 4th, and the Iowa football team is already 2-0. Cade McNamara. Oh, God. Now, the top wide receiver in program history. Iowa's never had a top 100 receiver out of high school. If you go by his high school rankings, this is it, brother. And I know what people are going to say.
Oh, God.
He caught one pass at Ohio State his freshman season.
How many did he catch at Iowa?
One pass. He took 27 snaps. It was Ohio State. We're not Ohio State. This is Iowa. You know, I've had a bunch of people messaging me on Twitter. Oh, you think this is going to make a dramatic impact on this? No. I'm not looking for a dramatic impact on the offense.
Well, good, because you didn't get it.
We've talked about this for over...
Jesus. Man, looking back, you're going to have to clip that and post it.
Yeah.
How many
catches did he have in his career at Iowa? I'm just curious.
23, I believe, because he won this season. I think he had 22 last season, and they were mostly all at the end of the year. Unbelievable.
Oh, man. That's funny. Good job, Matt.
Oh, God, that was
Matt's
great.
the best producer in the game right there. He just proved it again.
It's May 4th, and we're 2-0, riding high.
Cade
McNamara and Kaleb Brown. Oh, my God. And
that's what fandom's all about, right, Hassel?
And, yeah, I guess. And McNamara still hasn't thrown a touchdown pass against a power team.
For what it's worth, to my knowledge, this is the first time in history that the Iowa State Cyclones and the Minnesota Vikings have been 5-0 at the same time.
Well, it's the first time Iowa State's done it since 1980. That wasn't too far on the heels of those purple people eaters, was it?
No. So, and you know what my problem is, dude? I can't even enjoy it. Like,
Why?
I'm sitting here right now, and I'm just worried because I know the Vikings are going to overpay Sam Darnold in the offseason.
You think that they're going to say, you know what, we drafted McCarthy, but Darnold's been so good, we're going to sign him to a 2-year deal.
This is just the type of deal that we screw up, you know? So they're gonna overpay him. They're gonna ship off McCarthy. McCarthy's gonna become like John Elway somewhere. We're gonna be in a bad contract with Darnold. The whole thing is just a disaster. Starting 5-0. Like if they just would have been 0-5, you could have the first pick in the draft. You could load up for future years.
What was their win total? 6.5?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Obviously, yes, 6.5. Well, it dropped after McCarthy got hurt for some stupid reason. They were never really going to play him. It was always going to be Darnold.
Right. Because Darnold was at least going to start the season and play for a while. Big one coming up after the bye.
Next, right?
Yeah, after the bye, you got the Lions.
Yep. And the Lions are at Dallas next week. That's a good game because Dallas just won. Dallas finished. That game got over at like 3 a.m. Is Keith Murphy even going to make Murph and Andy today at 1 o'clock after that really late sound off last night?
I went to bed before that game even started. What time did it end?
I went to bed before the Dallas-Pittsburgh game ended. I was exhausted from the weekend.
They went on the air at 12:42.
Who's they?
Sound off. So it was Freund and Sears.
Oh, Murph didn't even stay
record
up
start. Murph's in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's down there.
Still in Arizona. I thought it was one of his quick trips where he would come back. Okay, never mind.
Maybe he'll be back for the show today.
He's doing the show from Arizona.
Oh, he is?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Well, all I care about is Keith getting his picks in for the Randy Peterson article
hey, Pete,
at Iowa.
If you're still
Everywhere.
watching, text Murphy right now.
Right now.
Say, get your goddamn picks in. Fun show today. Thursday is going to be a huge one. Looking ahead to a massive, massive weekend in college football.
Huge. 2 big games for both teams.
Suck 'em. Fight.
In different ways. If Iowa State wins this, I will allow you to start thinking playoff.
And remember, you are verbally locked into coming to Ames for the playoff game.
Oh, that's right. Wait, but if they win the conference, they won't get a home playoff game.
Yeah, you will because you get a bye.
Yeah, but that's
the next game is on an off-site location, not a home game.
If you get a bye, you don't get a home playoff game.
That sucks. Yeah.
So you would need to.
So they won't.
They need to do, they would need to go 12-0 and then lose in the conference championship game tight and get up at large.
Yeah. If that happens, I'm going to tape you to a light pole and just let people come up and just talk to you, and you have to talk to people for like 8 hours.
Why? What? That sound? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not agreeing to that.
Just make you feel really uncomfortable.
Zip time
you
to
and
the
me
bridge.
are just gonna the day before. We'll just sit at Welch Avenue Station for like 15 hours and drink. How much fun would that be?
That would be. Which one is Welch Avenue?
That was
Station?
the bar where I kicked you in the corner and turned on the air dryer and sprayed it in your face. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, the Brooke
Burke.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll zip tie him to the bridge. Let everyone get a piece of you.
Good job today, Maddie. Thanks for all that. I know that was a lot. He is Chris Hassel for Matt Van Winkle. Thanks to Fareway Meat and Grocery, as always, for sponsoring 2 Guys with Chris and Chris here on Iowa Everywhere.